April 4th, 2024, 9:15 p.m. Alright, we put them in at 11:30, and now it's 9:15, so that would be a good 10 hours roughly, right? Roughly, like 9 hours and 45 minutes, but regardless, that's the basic gist. Now, I was doing crunching some numbers earlier, and I realized the amount of time that the water is exposed to the ring is going to be far more than it would be for a standard rinse. I measured because I use water personally, and about 10 seconds, and so being generous with the time, we'll say 10 seconds of rinsing, and being generous with the amount of times per day, we'll say 10 times per day would be 100 seconds, and everyone's change schedule is different. Some people every couple of days, some people every week. I go on a 4-day, 3-day sort of thing. Every Sunday and every Wednesday, I do changes. So it would be maximum of 5 days of wear. At 100 seconds would be 500 seconds, which would be 6 times 8 is 48. So you got 8 with 20 left over, so 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And this has been 9 hours, so there's definitely going to be a lot more exposure going on here, but we want to see what happens in extreme circumstances. So let's go. First, we have the Coloplast Brava 12036. This was the original packaging for it, and it is enormous. Like, when you compare them together, I'll put the knife down for a second. Like, when we look at them side by side, if I can get them to model into the screen a little bit better, you can see there was the ring is larger than the packaging, basically. So that's a surprise. Coloplast Brava 12036. It seems to be retaining its rigidity inside the water, although it has expanded immensely. It seems to be holding its shape. So interesting, very interesting. All right, next up, we've got the Coloplast Brava 120307. This one looks remarkably similar in size to its starting point, and I'm not seeing an awful lot of wear and tear on this ring. It looks relatively similar to when I put it into, I'm not in frame, I'm not looking, sorry, there we go. It's looking relatively similar to when I put it in. Like, granted, it has some bubbles forming on it. It looks like that might just be the water itself kind of doing its thing, but as far as wear and tear, this one's looking pretty good. The Coloplast Brava 120307, holding up remarkably well in water. Let's look at Convatex Econ Cohesive 839005. Now, this one is definitely showing some degradation, and the water itself is actually a bit on the cloudy side. It has sealed to the bottom, which I kind of expected to happen, which is why I brought a knife with me, just in case. I'm going to just carefully dislodge that from the bottom. There we go. There we go. Now, size-wise, it looks about the same. But the structural integrity of it, like, the edges are all sorts of blown out on the side. In fact, I think there's a little bit of a, I don't know if the camera will pick that up, a little bit of residue on the knife itself. Yep, there sure is. I should have brought separate knives for each one. So, okay. Yeah, that one's definitely showing some degradation. Interesting find. Interesting indeed. That was the Convatec Econ's Cohesive 839005. I am desperately looking around. Oh, these are all towels, and I'm going to wash them later, so it doesn't matter. I'll just wipe this knife off here, and we can keep moving. That looks great. Okay. Next up will be the Osteoform Flow Assist model number OFA-M, OFA-M, I should say. And this one here is showing some swelling, which I think is probably going to be a pretty natural reaction for a lot of these taking in water. What's interesting is right here where the spout is, you can see the original texture and shape of the ring, because the plastic part is covering it and it therefore was not exposed. So it's actually a unique chance for a before and after situation. As far as the actual wear and tear, the edges are smooth and clean and they look pretty good. So I would say that this one is holding up pretty well under the circumstances. And then we'll start with the Hollister Adapt Sarah Ring 8805. And this one has formed a small seal to the bottom. I'm going to gently dislodge it. Okay. This too has taken on a lot of water. Its shape is relatively smooth. I can see a little bit of jaggedness, but honestly, comparatively speaking to the other rings that I saw, it wasn't that bad. And it's actually looking pretty good. It's swollen for sure, but I think that's just going to be the natural state of things for these as they're soaking in here. So a pretty good look for the Hollister Adapt Sarah Ring 8805. And then we've got the Hollister Adapt 7805. This is from my personal supply. So this is the exact one that I'm using. So of course, I'm going to be taking extreme interest in what happens to this one. I personally don't have an issue with too much wear and tear from the water. I've been doing it pretty much for 5 years, and I've been having pretty good results, and I've been using this ring exclusively. And we can see, if I can get it in frame, just pay attention to the camera, man, Kate. Anyhow, it has swollen, just like the other ones, and it's a little bit, I wouldn't say jagged, but a little bit of wear and tear on the edges, and I think that's just going to be from the swelling of the ring from the intake of water. So I would say this one's holding up fairly well for 9 hours of exposure. I think the one that is going to be the first to come out is this guy here because of the overall jaggedness. This is the Ekins Convatec Ekins Cohesive 839005. Yeah, it's pretty ragged around the edges. It looks like it's gonna blow out pretty soon, but we'll let time and science win out on that one. The Osteoform, pretty swollen. This one here seems to be doing the best, in my opinion. This is the Coloplast Brava 120307. Like, as far as not swelling too much, retaining its shape, staying smooth, like, this one's really, I'm very impressed with this one, how it's holding up under the stress test here. Very impressed. Not at all like its cousin, the Coloplast Brava 12036, which is, I would dare say, at least doubled in size. Like, this thing is like a slice of pineapple now. It's pretty crazy. Like, this is a standard, like, plastic knife. I would say this thing's probably about 3 inches in diameter now, and it did not start off that way. So, a very interesting swelling, but honestly, the edges look very smooth. So I would say, as far as the structural integrity is concerned, it's holding up, but the swelling could mean that whatever fit you have when you put it on, it could retract and allow for skin exposure. So that would be my big concern with this one here. But again, we'll let time and science win out and see how this goes. I'll just set this knife back here so I have it for next time. Alright, so this was the April 4th, 2024, 9:15 p.m. let's see what happens tomorrow.